And all right.
Good afternoon. My name is Pasha Baker. I'm the director and CEO of the Goldsboro Westside Community Historical Association, Incorporated. And we are here with one of my favorites. I say this about everybody, but she's my favorite from Detroit, Michigan, coming straight out of the D.
Yes.
Miss Rae Chesny, the Zora girl. We are so happy to have her and feature her as a Black author. She has written her newest book, Dear Zora. She is here for the Zora Neale Hurston Festival, many events, as well as she has a whole book listing of events over at the Orange County Library System in Eatonville of Miss Zora Neale Hurston, which is definitely one of my favorite authors. We have all of her collection. We know her history here to Sanford and to Goldsboro, but tell us why you are a Zora enthusiast.
Yeah, so my journey into actually finding out about Zora took me totally by surprise. I would call it a wild adventure. I was actually assigned to read Their Eyes Were Watching God in my 10th or 11th grade English class.
Yeah.
Pasha, I didn't read it.
No.
I didn't read it. I did not like to write. I like to read as a child. I love to tell stories though. And so the book was handed to me and it looked like another book that I just should want to read. No one told me about the history of Zora, how much of a trailblazer she was, that she just wasn't a writer, that she was a trained anthropologist, a folklorist, and that she literally revolutionized American anthropology by preserving the culture and the history of Black people. And not just Black people.
One of the first legacy keepers.
Yeah.
Keepers of the legacy.
Throughout the whole African diaspora. This woman in 1937 was a 2-time Guggenheim Fellow. And she traveled to Jamaica and Haiti.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now, I knew about her travels to Jamaica and Haiti, but they were specific to, you know, she wanted to learn more about the herbal rituals and the grounds and how they,
And she initiated into voodoo. Yeah, so original African spiritual practices is what she wanted to focus on.
That's right.
And here's a little tidbit. So Zora actually wanted to go to West Africa first. That was always her goal, to go to the Gold Coast of Africa. So Ghana, Mali, Songhai. And she wanted to see the ties between Black Americans and their African roots. And she said, I want to make sure I document it, write about it, but guess what? They declined that application. Yeah. So
why?
Because I think just like today, unfortunately, people who have the most money to fund these different projects see Africa as kind of a taboo place. And so it wasn't a tapped market. It wasn't a place, you know, even back then, the American Indian, the American Native was the focus of anthropological work. Black people themselves and their connection to Africa wasn't something that was considered. Zora was the first. She revolutionized that and said, I'm going to do it in a non-stereotypical way, and I'm going to do it with the love and appreciation that doesn't exist. I'm not a white anthropologist from the outside looking in saying, oh, isn't this funny they do this? Or isn't this funny they use these plants and herbs to heal themselves? Zora said, I'm not only going to learn about it, I'm going to love it and share it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, when I've always read her books, I didn't see it as actually voodoo as something evil, and I think that's one of the things that's a misconception. I see her as being very natural, very not wanting chemicals, believing that, and it's something that most Blacks, especially older Blacks, believe that, you know, the garden is the true medicine.
Yes. Yep.
The things from the earth are the true medicine, what we have from God, not man-made chemicals or pet medicines or what have you, but the collard greens in the bag.
Yes. Yep.
You know, if you have a cold, the turmeric that's used, those different things. We have some salve over there and castor oil and turpentine. And, you know, those are things that she's displayed in her book. However, those are things that are from the earth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she saw the beauty in the spiritual connection. How do we connect to plants? So botany. How do we connect spiritually to the greater world? How do we connect to animals?
Yes.
How do we connect to our ancestors?
There was a reason why Noah built the ark.
Yes.
Or the animals.
Yeah. And
animals
so
are sacred.
And I think that's a common misconception too. So typically we think you can either be a Christian or you can practice voodoo or African spiritual practices, right? But Zora, I mean, her father was a pastor, was a preacher.
That's right.
And
here in Sanford.
Yes, I was just about to say,
Zion Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And in Eatonville.
Yes.
And so her connection to religion, I think, was expansive because she always said that Black preachers were the best poets in the world.
They are. And I think she developed that writing style as well. The dynamics from her father. Her father was such a dynamic orator with his words and how he got in that pulpit every Sunday. Even though she didn't like her father, she said that he was a gigolo, one of the pastors that liked everybody. Like all the ladies.
Yeah. And she loved her daddy. I should say they did not get along. He did not like her precocious tomboy spirit.
Yes.
You think Zora was somebody driving around the U.S. in the 1920s, 1930s and doing field work, toting a gun, driving a car by herself.
Love it.
And her daddy was like, that ain't how women folks supposed to be. But Zora saw herself as being more like her father than any of her siblings. Her ambition, her ability to command a room.
We don't hear too much about her siblings.
Yeah, she had 8 of them. She was one of 8, I'm sorry. So she was 5th in the birth order.
Okay.
She had one sister born 15 years older than her. When her mother died when she was 13.
That's right.
She actually went and stayed with her oldest brother, Bob, in Memphis and then in Nashville. And she went and stayed with her other brother, John, who was named after the father, right? And John's wife, Blanche, was a florist. So when we think about Zora gardening and loving flowers her entire life,
she got it.
Yeah.
Very nice, very cool. No, I did not hear about her siblings. Like, no, I did not know she was one of 8.
Yeah, she was one of 8, and her baby brother, Everett, I am actually very close friends by way of amazing things with his granddaughter, Jessica. And Jessica is writing the foreword for my new book, Dear Zora.
That's what we're here for. Definitely. And you know what? It was a pleasure doing an interview before this one with your team. But it was something that I thought of and we spoke of a little bit from a Black female author to write about another Black female author.
Yeah. It's something special about it. We just do it.
That's
how
Black girl magic, right?
Right?
That's the epitome. That's what it should be called. Rae Chesny, Dear Zora, Black girl magic personified.
Oh, I love that.
Personified. From one Black girl magic.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that. I love it.
Yeah, but so let's talk a little bit more. Why did you want to write the book and why is it entitled Dear Zora? Sounds so personal.
It is. That's it. Tasha, you got
Dear
it.
Zora.
Yeah, so it's deeply personal. My connection with Zora is deeply personal. I always call myself a Zora scholar, not a Hurston scholar, because I am not a historian by any means. Didn't even like history. Zora, everything I didn't like to do, didn't understand, I learned and built courage through knowing Zora. My relationship with her is deeply personal. Even when I arrived here to do the series, to do the interview, it was important to me, even though I had been traveling since 4 a.m., that I drive 2 hours to Fort Pierce to visit Zora's gravesite and her last house. The love that's there is very different. Now, the premise of the book, the premise of the book, Dear Zora, is because I spent time writing Zora letters from my very first presentation in 2018 when I had no idea.
So you have like a journal that you written and in the beginning of the journal is Dear Zora.
Yes.
This is what I
Letters to Zora.
Nice.
Yes. Dear Zora, I don't think I got any business presenting on you. But if you want me to, please let me know. And
that
I
is
think
too sweet.
And it's amazing.
That is the coolest thing. Are you ever gonna publish the letters? Like
that's the letters. That's the book.
This okay.
That's
so
the
in the book.
So I'll grab the book, guys.
All right.
So this is the book.
Beautiful cover. I've always loved her in that hat.
Yes. And this is the book, and it has the letters that I've been writing her since 2018.
Does it have the dates? And
yes. There we go.
I see
so
it.
This is Tasha's first time seeing this.
I've heard of the book. I've seen the book. You know, we spoke about the book the last time you were here.
Yes. These are the letters. And I was
That is the coolest thing ever. First of all, we have to support Rae and support this book. So where can we purchase the book?
So Pasha, this is very exciting. So in the process of publishing this book,
Is this self-published as well?
This is going to be self-published. So the backstory is that
That's big.
That
means she wrote her own book and then she published her own book.
Yes.
Not somebody else published it, not Amazon. She did that.
Yes.
That's big. So claps.
So I have a background as a children's author. I've been publishing children's books since 2014. I have helped other people publish many books. And so me publishing a book has not been a difficult thing. However, with this book, it has been a crazy ride. And so in wisdom and learned wisdom, I said, well, what am I supposed to learn from this? What's supposed to be birthed from this? And I started to think of something that bothered me. When it comes to the publishing industry, Zora famously wrote what white publishers won't print. She did this essay and she talked about essentially how even the things that she wanted to really publish, not the stuff that we get to read that Zora wrote, they're also watching
we have our unpublished essays. We have one across the street. Yeah.
But talking about books that she wanted to write, such as Golden Bitch of God, about Madam C.J. Walker and her daughter, and Pope Malone, the other hair care empress that was a mentor to Madam C.J. Walker. Publishers wouldn't publish that. What about Mrs. Doctor, Affluent Black Society? They wouldn't publish that. But we'll publish all these folk stories. When we think about Zora's legacy, we talk about her writing about the folk. But she wanted to write other stuff too. When we talk about religion, she wanted to publish a book challenging the perception of King Herod. And she did all of this extensive research. They wouldn't publish that. And so I said, well, Rae, knowing Zora's journey, what do you want to do differently? How do you want to challenge the publishing industry 100 years later?
Voice.
Yeah. And so one of the things
Your own narrative.
Yeah. One of the things that happens a lot of times is people come to me and they say, oh, I could never write a book. I could never write a book. And the truth is, it takes a lot of people to produce a book. The editor, the graphic designer, the typesetter, layout, proofing, all of that. But we don't tell our stories because we're trying to write a book. We're comparing our first draft, our very rough first draft, to someone's polished, finished book that has had money put behind it and other professionals to birth this book into the world. And so I said, well, yeah, I don't like that. Because there's so many of us who are brilliant, especially Black and brown people. I would say the others.
The creatives.
The creatives. The ones who are naturally talented and gifted.
Swag, creative swag too.
But we don't have the access. We don't have the resources. And so we do think, oh, I could never put my story out there. But I think what would have happened if Zora never put her stories out there? And that's a horrible thing to even consider. Yeah. So I decided to do something different, Pasha. You ready?
All right. What'd you do?
So I created the Work in Progress Literary Club. And what that is a new way to publish in which I will release and publish my first rough drafts of my works and then later publish the finalized version.
I love it. It gives creatives a blueprint to show people that everyone can do it.
And show them that I use the wrong there many times, that I don't know how to use a semicolon, that sometimes I have to go back and get somebody to confirm and really vet the information, the context. This has lots of annotations so that people know what I'm talking about. You know, if I reference, oh, John, your father was in Goldsboro. I visited Goldsboro today. Let me tell you a little bit about Goldsboro. So that you know what I'm talking about with Zora. But that's a lot of work. It needs a lot of help. But the good thing about the Literary Club is people can actually join me in it on Facebook. And they can
see your process.
They can talk to me about my process, have some behind the scenes. They can ask me questions.
How do they join that?
Yeah, so look up Work in Progress Literary Club right on Facebook.
Work in Progress Literary Club. And we will put this in the notes as well.
Yes.
And have a link on Facebook as well to the Literary Club.
Yes, and you request to join. And I'm going to share the stuff. And you get to see my imperfect version. You get to hear the
Very
things that I have
cool.
gone through.
That
to
is so
produce it.
vulnerable of you.
I cried about it, y'all. I'm not gonna. I was like, wait, no, I know it's the right thing, but it is scary.
Yes.
It is scary to say, oh, I have some wrong information in here. This isn't formatted properly.
And how you correct it.
Yes.
Definitely, because you see all these steps. Like you said, you don't see the rough part. You see a polished, finished product.
You see the diamond when
That's
it's
right.
glued. Yes.
That's right. It
Yeah.
takes a lot. Trust me. I know.
Yeah. So I want to show the pressure. I want to show the pressure and the process it takes to make a diamond.
A black diamond.
A black diamond.
That's even more rare. All right, so let's see, Dear Zora, and it's a black background.
Yeah.
I love
and I
that.
think, I don't know for sure, and this is the beauty of it, it takes off some pressure of having it perfect right away before sharing, because the people who join this club will be able to contribute directly to the production of this book, giving feedback,
So
sharing excitement.
this is still a rough draft.
Yep, this is the work in progress.
Nice.
This is the work in progress. So I think what I might do is have two different covers. The work in progress is one cover, and then the finalized one is a different one. So if you guys have ideas for the finalized cover, let me know. I did want to, because I love Pasha so much, and the town of Goldsboro, as well as the Goldsboro
She came
Museum.
and visited me last year.
Yes, yep, in July.
Yeah.
I wanted to read my very first letter that I wrote Zora, and this is the first time I've ever done this. So we will see how it goes.
Oh.
You
I'm
ready,
so
Pasha?
excited. Thank you.
All right. February 16th, 2018. Dear Zora, yesterday I gave my first Black History presentation at Michigan State University. I didn't know what I was going to present about when I was asked to talk about a person from history who most influenced my career as a writer. I really couldn't think of many, especially because I didn't like to read as a child. I was sick of seeing white girls with pigtails and blonde hair who lived behind white picket fences, who had dogs and two loving, adoring parents. I almost declined to present. Then they threw out this very special word, honorarium. Zora, I had never gotten an honorarium before, and the idea of presenting on a college campus seemed very fancy. Plus, I don't mind talking or giving presentations. With this little thing we have now called the internet, I could search for anybody and pretty much anything. Langston Hughes popped into my mind because as a kid, I had read a few of his poems. Without a lot of time to prepare for my presentation, I knew I could quickly brush up on some of Langston's poems, do a little research, then present on him. Feeling like I had come up with a good plan, I quickly submitted Langston as the subject of my presentation to the professor, Dr. Brooks. Well, when I began researching Langston, the name Zora Neale Hurston kept popping up. The odd thing is, I had never heard of you in connection with Langston Hughes in the Harlem Renaissance. Of course, I'm Black and a writer, so I have always been enamored with the Black artistic time period. If I could, I would get in a time machine and try to integrate myself into the literary circle you and Langston were in. I was quite perturbed. I had never heard your name in connection with it. I mean, for my research, I was finding out you were pretty much a really big deal. How come we don't know about you like we know Langston, James Baldwin, Richard Wright, and the fact that you and Langston were best friends makes it even worse. How come he got in on all the clout and you didn't? Well, I know why. He's a man. I'm not like some super feminist or anything, but I know how it goes. I decided to tack you onto the presentation. Every time I said the phrase Langston and Zora, you felt like an afterthought. I highly doubt you would like that. In fact, I felt the sensation like spikes under my arms every time I said it. I don't know if that was you or my guilt for not presenting on you and only you. If it was you, hopefully you can forgive me. I am already slated to do another Black History presentation next year, and you will be the singular star of the show that night. I even bought a biography on you called Wrapped in Rainbows to prepare. Anyway, I guess writing you is my crazy attempt to be able to connect with you. Sincerely, and at that time, my name was different. My birth name was Ashley, so it's signed with my birth name, and that is the first letter I ever wrote Zora.
And that was amazing. One. Two, I didn't know it was your personal letters that you were putting into the book.
Yes. Yeah. And Pache goes
And
there.
read the foreword down here.
So the subtitle, or I'll give you the whole title, Dear Zora, a collection of intimate notes, letters, and dreams from one writer to Zora Neale Hurston while on her journey to becoming.
I'm just processing a bit here. One, amazing job on everything from the flow of the book to the cover to your releasing to helping others write their own story and letting them see your process and kind of giving them, I don't want to say a blueprint because I think this is a black print.
Oh, I like that. The black print.
Just giving you all the
Just give me all
today.
the stuff.
Just giving you all.
I
Make
love
sure y'all
that.
copyright. We gonna
Yeah.
some stuff we gotta get with Natalie. But really, kind of the black print of how you release and how other Blacks creators tell their stories, but tell it with the swag.
Yeah.
Tell it with the presence of the ancestors. You know, we have the cemetery. And one of the reasons why I purchased that cemetery is because it always felt so special to me. Because not only do I know the history of it, but I know the ground that I'm standing on. There were enslaved people that were going to freedom that are buried there, that never got a chance to see it. So you feel the presence.
Yeah.
And I think with this book, I believe you felt the presence of Miss Hurston.
Yes. Yep.
And I think you're feeling that attachment. What is it? Like a twin flame.
Yeah. And I'll read you on the back. I have a little snippet from the foreword by Zora's niece, who's her great niece, who's also my friend. She said, Dear Zora guides its readers through a woman's pilgrimage, a sacred dialogue between a student and her mentor. It's not as much to be a fly on the wall over their conversation, but to be a third friend, silently sipping tea, listening contently. Rae's research tightly holds hands with the intimacy of the written letter. Along the way, Zora does answer and presents herself to Rae in many ways. And that's from Jessica.
You know, when we look at current events today, we saw that a justice is retiring. That was announced yesterday. And one of the first pledges and commitments that President Biden made is to put a Black woman on the Supreme Court, which would make it the first. But as I'm hearing this book and I'm hearing you speak, the connection to me is just Black women. And using those voices and using it to connect and just using it to uplift each other. And I think Zora has really kind of uplifted you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that is the connection, just being Black women, being Black authors, and having that connection of just Black girl magic and swag, because Zora had her own swag.
Oh man, this tilted hat, what?
She did, in the blue, in the navy, and she just came
and the
with
red,
it.
and the red.
The red lipstick.
Yes.
There's a different type of swag.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm going to contact my graphic artist to put on there, Dear Zora, with Zora swag.
Yes.
The Black girl magic swag. And something about it, because that just speaks to me.
It does, but I think the other thing too, in addition to that, is Zora was very intentional. So
Yes,
when I want to be grounded in doing a presentation, doing research, sharing what I know about Zora, or even learning more, before I go on trips, I always read her essay, and not the published one, but the one that is at the University of Florida's George Smathers collection. art and such. Art and such. Because in that essay, Zora defines what she's attempting to do. She said, since slavery, there has never been a true black artist.
That's deep.
Thinking about all the unimagined geniuses that must have lived and died.
That's right.
And so that's the compass.
Our ancestors.
Yeah. The compass. Zora made sure she copywrote everything. She made sure that when she did film for her field work, she was one of the first black women filmmakers. Zora made sure it said directed by Zora Neale Hurston.
Yeah.
She made sure that you could call her by name. But here's the catch. When Zora went out to the field and did field work, she would collect these stories, these songs, these children's games from the people in the work camps.
Yep.
And here's what she did. She worked for the WPA in 1939. She worked for the Florida Writers Project prior to going to Jamaica and Haiti in the 1930s. And when she had to come and she would sing the songs for audiences, she would call by name the folk who taught it to her.
Giving them part of it.
Yes. I'm going to call you by name.
That's right. Letting them know that this wasn't hers. She learned it from someone else.
I am the modality in which the genius and artistry of my people is expressed.
Giving them credit.
Yes.
Give credit where credit is due. And today we give credit to you on this fabulous book, dear Zora. Tell us how we purchase it.
Yeah, so right now we're just doing a work in progress version. What I'm going to do is publish it as an ebook. I would very much appreciate for people to
will
leave
share
reviews.
the link.
Yes.
How do we get the link and where
I
is
will
it
send
at?
it to you so we can put it right in the notes because I know I love to just click on the link.
Definitely.
But they can follow me and connect with me, Rae Chesny. So RaeChesny on Instagram, Facebook. The Work in Progress Literary Club is on Facebook, and then my website is raechesny.com.
Awesome. And we definitely have to support this black female author, her connection, but her connection to help other authors as well. And to tell their stories, to tell their voice, kind of give them that black print. So we appreciate you. Thank you for coming again to Goldsboro. Thank you for coming for our Black History Month. Bringing your stories to Eatonville, our brother city over there. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your team you have here. So thank you again.
Thank you, Pasha. And you know I will be back.
Please do. And we're already planning that one.
Absolutely.
All right, darling. You have a blessed one.